It's the most wonderful time of the year, college football bowl season, baby. And there are 42 bowl and playoff games to keep us entertained for almost 3.5 weeks. Starting with Toledo versus Middle Tennessee State and going through the national championship on Monday, January 10th, pick your favorite Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper and get every college football bowl game they release, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35 for the low price of $149. As an added bonus, make sure to download the free Wager Talk College Football Bowl Guide by going to wt.buzz/rm. From everyone at Wager Talk and Sports Memo, good luck this college football bowl season.
All right, guys, welcome in, and happy Wednesday to you here. Time for a little college basketball tip-off show powered by WagerTalk.com, as we do have a pretty loaded card here tonight in college hoops, and we've got 3 games we've isolated. We're going to break down for you, see if we can't find you a couple of edges on this card, of course, with the Wednesday crew as we welcome in 3 of the best here, as Drew Martin is here, Adam Trigger, and SportsMemo.com's Matt Josephs, otherwise known as Mid-Major Matt. Yes, Mid-Major Matt joining us here today as well. Drew, interesting games last night. It was a short card, some fun games there at Madison Square Garden. What do you got going on tonight here at WagerTalk.com?
Sure, Joe. Yeah, it was a fun night watching these games. And unfortunately, I did go 0-1 in the one game I released to the clients. So in bounce back mode tonight. But yeah, got a bunch up and ready for bowl season like Ruby just talked about. You know, it's bowl season, college basketball. She even used the word baby. I like that from Ruby. So, Joe, always good to be on with you here on Wednesday, man. Ready to get after the games. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's do it here. Adam Trigger, what is going on with you, my man? I know you got to be locked and loaded here tonight with this card in college hoops.
Yeah, I am. I have two best bets. You're not going to see a package up because I didn't put one up. I released them to my long-term clients. One I'm going to give out on this show. The other I'm going to give out on my show tonight on Wager Talk TV, The Hustle. And if I add another one, I'll probably just tweet it out. I decided to do a free day. I had an awesome weekend. Went 7-1. Took a loss with the Bills on Monday night, which was just, everyone watched that game. And last night I was on Vermont. That might be the worst basketball game I've watched all season with them in Providence. Just a horrible game. And Providence managed to play horrible and cover 6. So I am in bounce back mode tonight, just like Drew. Like I said, I have 2 best bets up so far, both 4%. And I'm going to give one out at the end of this show, and I'll probably give the other one out on my other show. So yeah, hopefully we can sweep and get right back in the win column tonight.
All that experience with Vermont. You'd have thought we were looking at a bunch of guys that never played the damn game before. Go ahead, talk to me here, Matt Joseph, SportsMemo.com. I believe, cha-ching, my friend, were you the $2 handicapper at SportsMemo.com? Congratulations. That play cashed, man. Way to go.
Yeah, Furman and Winthrop went the way I thought it would with the over there. That was fantastic. I also was on Vermont, so that was a bit disappointing. Had a couple of other losses. So we are also in bounce back mode. The All Access clients are getting the plays today because I beat some of the line moves. So that just makes you want to join one of us for All Access. You get the plays the moment we put them out, and you beat the line moves. So we'll see how the plays do, but some nice CLV for the All Access folks.
All right, good stuff, guys. You can catch, of course, Drew and Adam at WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com for Matt Josephs. And let's kick things off here by heading to Morgantown, if we could, here with West Virginia going to be hosting UConn here, number 15, UConn. And, UConn's down a couple of guys, but they were down a couple of guys, and they passed that test. But going to Morgantown, West Virginia, is a totally different animal here. It opened up at -1. I'm seeing 2.5s now in the marketplace as well. So, Drew, I will come to you here. Still down a couple of starters here, UConn. Do you trust them on the road in their first true road test here?
You know, Joe, I was looking that way. Morgantown, you bring up, could be a tough place to play. Huggins and company playing that good defense. However, looking at their schedule, I kind of find them as a difficult team to kind of put my finger on, a difficult team to kind of power rate when you look at their schedule, outside of beating Clemson and losing to Marquette, they really haven't played too many, I guess like UConn caliber of teams. Their defensive turnover percentage is good, but again, that's against teams or the majority of teams not really all that talented at basketball. They're also only 64% from the free throw line. I really don't like laying this kind of number, shooting under 65% from the charity stripe. And when you look at UConn's side of things, Dan Hurley, they're playing some good basketball. You bring up the fact, down a couple of players, but still they are getting some quality wins here. They went down to Atlantis, did lose to Michigan State, but beat Auburn in 2 overtimes, scoring 115 points in that game. They're 75% from the free throw line, so we get a big difference there in terms of being able to knock down free throws. Their offensive rebounding, they're really good at crashing the boards, top 10 in the country, also near top 10 in terms of defensive field goal percentage. So playing really good defense here, knocking down the free throws. Plus the fact RJ Cole, averaging 23 points his last 3 games here, Joe. So I think that's enough to look towards UConn here, plus the points. I actually think UConn goes into Morgantown and wins this one outright, Joe.
All right, going against the grain of the market there. Love it, Drew. What do you think here, Trig? They lost to Marquette, West Virginia earlier, but they have rattled off 4 straight since that point. Do you think they've got enough here to be able to handle business at home tonight against UConn?
So I wanted to, I normally would look to UConn here, but I think the loss, so it's Adama Sanogo and Tyrese Martin that are out, okay? Mm-hmm. That's 15.6 points and 6.3 boards a game from the first one, and that's 12.9 points and 7.7 boards per game from the second one. So to me, that's just too much interior rebounding, sort of post-scoring for me to feel confident betting on UConn. With that being said, I think McNeil's status is very important here because if he can't go for West Virginia, I think then you might start to be able to make a case for UConn with the points being some value. So I would look at McNeil on West Virginia because he's questionable right now. If he plays, I'd probably lean toward West Virginia. If he doesn't play, I think I would say, okay, well, under the circumstances, UConn is value, but I typically don't like betting against West Virginia in Morgantown unless I'm getting sort of an inflated number. So there's just too much uncertainty here. I can't get to the window with UConn with the 2 guys out. And like I said, the way I would, if I had to play it, I would kind of wait to figure out McNeil's status and pivot off of that.
I believe they are expecting McNeil back for this one. And you know a little something about Morgantown there, mid-major, Matt. They've been pretty good at home here, I believe undefeated now. So does that streak continue for West Virginia?
So the one thing I'll say to what Drew said with regards to the schedule, I'll counter that UConn hasn't played a really good offense all year outside of Auburn, and they gave up 109 points in 2 overtimes. Michigan State's offense usually struggles in early November. VCU's offense is terrible, and those are the 3 name brands besides Central Connecticut, Coppin State, Long Island. So, I think a lot of Connecticut's defensive numbers are kind of hollow. And if you go back to that Auburn game with Sanogo and Martin putting up 43 points and about 16 rebounds combined in that one. I just think that, this is a UConn team that has gotten by the last 2 games, the Maryland Eastern Shore Grambling State, without those 2 guys. But now they're finally going to get a test without those 2 guys. Now, the good thing is they've had about a week. If this was the first game without them, I'd be a little more worried, or the second game. But they've had some time to work things out. And then you look at West Virginia, and yeah, the home court advantage, I think, matters a little bit here. I didn't play anything officially in this one, but I would lean more towards West Virginia. As I've said on several shows, I'm more of a cautious bettor. So I would lean towards the money line here. That way we don't have to worry about this sort of thing. Of course, if it's 1, then the money line, is not as big of a deal. But to me, it's all about juice tolerance. If you could tolerate the money line juice, then I would consider West Virginia in this one. I think they defend home court pretty well in this one.
Yeah, it just feels like this is going to be a who's got last possession, make a bucket kind of situation here tonight. But should be a good one. UConn taking on West Virginia. And now we get to head to the Big Ten here for the opening matchup here. That is right, the Big Ten schedule. Here we go. Indiana will travel to Wisconsin, and the Badgers will be opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. 132.5 is an opening total on this one. And boy, when you look at the schedule here of Wisconsin, really tough out of conference schedule. But boy, what they took down Houston. Sorry, Robert. They took down Georgia Tech. They took down Marquette. I mean, Trig, this is for a young Wisconsin team, pretty good lead up to this matchup against Indiana. Pretty good experience. You think they handle business tonight?
No, I like the other side. I think so. Okay, I'm curious to see if the other two agree with me on this point specifically. I think you're paying way too big of a premium for games at the Kohl Center now. Like, it's been like 3 years since Wisconsin was lights out in this building, but it's just like every time Wisconsin plays a home game, all you hear is, oh, well, Wisconsin at home. And I just think that's like, really from a line perspective, like this touched 5 earlier. And I know that Indiana got some sharp play at 5. I think it's back to 4.5 now. I wouldn't be surprised to see this go back to 4 and eventually to where it opened. So I will say this, both of these teams are better than I expected them to be this season. These were kind of both teams I came into the year saying, okay, like I think Indiana was like the really trendy sort of like pick to I know people were like throwing some money on them to win the national championship, to win the Big Ten. And that has to do with the fact that they've got Trace Jackson Davis, who's one of the best players on, college basketball players in the country. And he does kind of look like that like college hoop superstar so far, right? 21 points per game, 6-point rebounds per game. Like he's dominant. I mean, he's awesome. So, but Wisconsin, like Johnny Davis is right up there as well. And Wisconsin, I will say, like they're a very strong team. So this didn't make my card, probably for that reason. I've pumped the brakes on sort of just wanting to take shots at Wisconsin. But for this game specifically, I think you're paying way too big of a premium for this game being in Madison. I really liked it at 5. It's down to 4.5, but like I think the way to go here is to take the points. Indiana, I mean, they've got good numbers. They have in my opinion, the best player on the floor. They can shoot the 3. They're shooting nearly 50% from the field, and they rebound. So Indiana, their one loss, double OT to Syracuse. Granted, they haven't had a murderer's row of a schedule outside of that, but no, I think this could be a pretty good ball game. You can get 5 points with Indiana. I think there's still some 5s out there. That's definitely the way I would look here.
All right, leaning towards Indiana in this one, mid-major. Matt, what do you think? You got confidence in Indiana to get the job done here?
No, I don't. Well, first off, I'm not watching this game. I hate the Big Ten. It's garbage, but whatever. That's something else. You look at the kind of the outliers to each of these teams, and look, I watched the whole Syracuse Indiana game. Of course, it's part of my tuition checks that I send off to Syracuse every month. And look, Indiana should have lost that game by a lot of points, and Syracuse kind of, pissed it away towards the end. So, like, I was not that impressed with Indiana on the road, and that was their first road game of the season. Now, look, of course, the teams they beat, St. John's is good, and Marshall, I think, is not a terrible team, and they humiliated Louisiana. But, like, what's Indiana done outside of their building? And look, looking at last year's meeting, basically Wisconsin just let TJD do whatever he wants and kind of lock down on everybody else. And that's how I would play Indiana. You kind of watch those perimeter shooters. You let TJD get his 30, have his 8 dunks a game. And then that's how you win. And you look at Wisconsin. Providence should be probably 8-0. They didn't have Johnny Davis in that game. So Wisconsin, I know what Trig said about home court, and I agree. Like at 3.5, I would have liked it a lot more for Wisconsin. I don't like it necessarily at this number, but it's legit. Kohl Center's really good. They've taken care of business at home. They probably should have beaten Providence. So I would lean Wisconsin if this thing falls down a little bit more. I'm just not a big Indiana guy this year.
All right, not a believer in Indiana. What about you, Drew? You a believer in Wisconsin at home or Indiana to take care of it?
I was looking towards the Badgers in this one, Joe, and I thought it was funny. Mid-major Matt taking a shot there at the Big Ten. It's kind of in his name. I like that, Matt. And to Adam's point, I almost feel like the Wisconsin at home thing in Madison, it has a little bit of the feel of like West Virginia at home as well, almost the same type of profile. How to really kind of quantify that in our handicap, I think can kind of be tricky, especially early on when you factor in that the Hoosiers are only 0-1 away from Bloomington, Joe. They're not a team that played, neutral site games to this point. So all of their games have been at home outside of one. They did lose that game against Syracuse in double overtime. They did beat St. John's. Outside of that, it's kind of tough to really get a grasp on how good Indiana is. But to Adam's point earlier, a lot of people coming into this season, the Hoosiers, what is their kind of ceiling here? It is very high, possibly national championship. But the fact is they had 26 turnovers against Syracuse. Now, is that attributed to the Syracuse zone? Is that attributed to that being their only road game and they really struggled? Maybe a mixture of both. Does that come into fruition here in Madison, a difficult place to play? I actually think it could because, hey, Greg Gard's got the Badgers playing really good defense, number 302 in terms of tempo. They're going to slow the game down. They shoot 80% from the free throw line. So when you're looking to lay, 4 or 5 points here, that could be in foul fest territory. You want a team knocking down their free throws. They're number 1 in terms of offensive turnover percentage. So they're not turning the ball over and hurting themselves. And Johnny Davis, I think Trig was just talking about him, fresh off of 25 points in that 89 point offensive performance that Wisconsin had. He's playing the only game he didn't play, they lost. He's slated to play tonight. So that's what makes me look towards Wisconsin -4.5. But to Trig's point, maybe it's getting a little overrated here in Madison. So not one of like the big plays tonight, but for sake of, degenerate, we're betting every game that we're talking about here on the show. Joe, I'm looking towards the Badgers -4 in the hook.
All right, looking towards the Badgers in that one. We've got one final one we're going to take a look at. It should be an interesting battle between these two teams as Utah State and BYU are on the card. BYU opens up as an 8.5-point favorite. 136.5 would happen to be what that total opened up at. And right now I'm seeing 6.5s and 141.5. So mid-major, Matt, it looks like the total is where people have honed in on. They seem to think we're going to get way more than that opening of 136.5. What do you think we're going to get here between these two teams?
Well, I mean, I agree with both line moves. I would have played the over at that opening number, and I certainly would have played Utah State. I mean, when you look at Utah State, and Drew just talked about it, especially in a closer type game, Utah State is an 80% free throw shooting team, and they're a very efficient offense when you look at, and there's, when you look at some of these teams and you don't see a lot of red, aka in the KenPom categories, that means they do a lot well. And BYU, very minimal red all over the place, and Utah State, very minimal red. Now, BYU is a really good three-point defensive team. It's not necessarily in Utah State's bag. I mean, they'll shoot some threes, but they're more of a team that wants to get to the rim, use their physicality here. BYU coming off a really interesting 3 games away from home. They beat their rival Utah. They lose that Utah Valley game just a week ago. And then they, won in a tough atmosphere in Missouri State. So it's nice for them to come home where they've been beating up on some people so far this season. BYU's schedule has been really good so far, whereas Utah State has kind of had a little bit of a lesser schedule outside of that Oklahoma game in St. Mary's. I kind of lean to the dog here. I don't know necessarily how much value there is left from the opening line. This is the classic case of sometimes you have to jump on a thing the night before to get the best number because you kind of figured that Utah State would be a popular play here. I think there's still a little bit value with Utah State here, but not as much, of course, as there was when it opened up.
All right. Well, there you go. Utah State, you agree with the moves as well, Drew, here, both side and total, or are you going to go the other way?
Yeah, I could see some points being scored, a little battle here in the Beehive State, BYU and Utah State. Utah State, losing their first game, losing their last game, and winning 6 in between. 80% from the free throw line makes me look towards them, but BYU isn't terrible from the free throw line, over 70%. Look, BYU, Joe, kind of has an interesting profile in terms of three-point shooting. They're in the 300s, one of the worst in terms of offensively being able to knock down their three-pointers. And they're number 1 in the country in terms of defending the three-point line, which tends to kind of carry over more than the offensive side of things. So that's what kept me off of betting this over. But obviously the market liking it. I just think that there's a little bit more to kind of defensive style in your numbers carrying over from game to game that kept me off of the total. Overall, I found this to be a very difficult handicap, something to get on. And in those cases, with the team shooting 80% from the free throw line, catching 6 points right now, looking at the Wager Talk odds screen, that would put me here towards the Aggies. That's the Utah State Aggies plus the 6.
Yep, seems like a popular side here there, Trig. Looks like go with the dog here, Utah State. What do you think?
Yeah, I crossed this one off pretty quickly, so I don't have a ton here. What I'll say is I think, it got bet down to 6.5, and that's probably correct. I think, like Matt said, if you could have got in at 8.5 on Utah State, I would say that's a decent bet. But I didn't want to get in at 8.5 on Utah State because, for me, the Marriott Center in Provo, Utah, that is a home court advantage spot that I like to sort of look at. I've been to that building before, and that can be an awesome home court advantage when it's really rocking there, which it should be for this game. So, there's something to look at for BYU. They're banged up as well, so this is just a tough game to bet because, as the other two have highlighted, Utah State, they do the little things well. Like, you'd like to think that this is going to be a pretty competitive game. I think, like Drew said, if BYU starts draining from outside, they could run this up and get up 10 with in a moment's notice, and potentially pull away. So yeah, I'm not going to spend much time on this one. Not much for me here. I think the number's probably right now. So congrats if you were able to kind of hop on Utah State at 8.5, but at 6.5, I would be nervous to lay it with BYU, and I don't think there's enough value with Utah State, so I'll just pass.
Yeah, wish these two teams knew each other a little better. I mean, it's only the 236th time that they have met here, so should be an interesting one for sure. BYU taking on Utah State with all the market moving towards the over and Utah early on. We'll see how that goes. 9 p.m. Eastern time tip-off. So now it is time, of course, to round it all up here. It's a great card tonight in college hoops. Let's take a look at some best bets here. And Drew, we'll start with you here, my friend. A lot of different ways to go on a card here tonight. What's one you chose?
Give me the Huskies, Joe. UConn Huskies plus the 2 in the hook here. RJ Cole scoring 23 points average his last 3 games. I know they're a little bit banged up here, but 75% from the free throw line, much better than West Virginia, just sitting at 64%. West Virginia, kind of difficult handicap for me. Haven't played a lot of quality teams, and UConn putting up those big points against Auburn. Did lose against Michigan State, but overall, I think RJ Cole has enough in the tank to stay within 2.5 on UConn. Sprinkle a little bit there on the money line with the Huskies to go into Morgantown and win outright. But for record-keeping purposes here, Joe, plus 2.5 on UConn.
All right, getting it done here with UConn. Trig, where are you going here tonight?
All right, so, yeah, I'm not betting any of the 3 games that we talked about, so I will give one of my best bets. Now, so the play is Tennessee Tech. This line moved like crazy. I got in even late on this, and I'm annoyed at myself because Tennessee Tech is a team I bet earlier this year against Lipscomb. They were a team I was betting toward the end of last year, so they've been on my radar. And all of a sudden this morning, they were getting pounded. I think they were a 1-point dog. They're all the way up to -3. I got in late, and I took -145 on the money line, and I think it's up to -175. So I'm not going to advise that you lay -175. But I still think they probably cover. I think you can get 2.5 or 3 now. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure what the reason for the move was, other than I do know that it's sharp. But I do think that this Tennessee Tech team is the most improved team in the Ohio Valley. I like their point guard, Junior Clay, who was one of the best guards in that conference last year. Now he's got a little bit of a supporting cast. Keyshawn Davidson was a junior college transfer last year, and now he's sort of him and Clay are the 2 sort of scorers with Mamadou Diarra, who transferred in from Cincinnati, starting to give them a little post presence. So this team's good. I actually think they could make some noise in the Ohio Valley this year, and they're 2-6, but their losses are to a really good Chattanooga team twice, Memphis, Tennessee, UNC Asheville, who's pretty solid, and then Evansville. So they've really played a tough schedule. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to the one time I backed them so far this year was against Lipscomb, and they completely took over in the second half of that game and won easily. I have a feeling that that's what happens again here. Western Carolina is going to be a step down, probably even below Lipscomb. So even though it's on the road, I think it's a good spot for Tennessee Tech, a little bit of a drop in class, and this team's really good. So like you probably missed the chance to money line it, but you could lay the 3 here. I think they'll probably cover that as well.
All right, Tennessee Tech it is. Best bet for Trig. All right, mid-major Matt, sportsmemo.com. Where are you going, Matt Joseph? What'd you circle for us here?
Well, I'll say this. One of my plays that I gave out to the all-access clients was the over for that game. So I'm hoping that Tennessee Tech does a lot of scoring. I got it 143.5 last night. That thing's also gone up because Western Carolina games seem to always have a lot of points. So I'm hoping for him to do well with that one. All right, so this is a team total that I've played quite a bit so far this season, and it's the team total over against American. The American University Eagles are 337th in 2-point defense, 331st in 3-point defense. They've given up during this 7-game losing streak, they've given up 90, 80, 88, 98, 80, 82, and 79, including some awful offenses. So it's a trend that I've been playing, and so I'm going to keep playing it. I got over 74.5 for St. Francis of Pennsylvania, the better one, obviously, than the New York one, of course, because Pennsylvania's better. But you look at St. Francis of PA, the Red Flash, they play with some pace, which is always important for a game like this, and they take care of business in some of these games. They just lost 78-75 to Ohio. They put up 93 on Bucknell. They put up 79 at Lehigh. They put up 72 at George Washington. They're not the best offensive team, but they make their free throws when they get to the line, and they don't turn the ball over a ton. So it's a trend I've been playing. I'll take over 74.5 points for the St. Francis, PA Red Flash as they take on the Civ that is American University.
Oh, Civ taking a shot at American University. I love it. All right, guys, we do have of course, our friends at the Gold Sheet continue to dominate here. We do have a play from them today as well, and they are looking at Fresno State going to take the points, taking on the Dons of San Francisco in this one. Should be actually a really good game there. They like the dog in this one here. Take the points with Fresno State taking on the San Francisco Dons. And don't forget, guys, that full write-up available on our Twitter page at WagerTalk. And, of course, we invite you to visit goldsheet.com. Always great handicapping information there. Great tools, great data. You want to be a more profitable handicapper. It's a great opportunity, guys. Check it out, goldsheet.com. And of course, you can visit these guys at wagertalk.com. Both Drew Martin and Adam Trigg locked and loaded here tonight, guys, ready to go. So make sure you visit wagertalk.com and of course sportsmemo.com for mid-major Mats. All right, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go Cal. I'm gonna lay the 2 touchdowns, and I don't care why. They're playing Idaho State. Enough said. Idaho State. They haven't won a game against a Big Five, a Big Conference 5 opponent since 1987. They ain't going to win one here either. They ain't even going to be close to winning one here. So, yes, give me Cal. Give me Mark Fox. Give me first half. Give me full game. Give me blowout by 20 with the Golden Bears over the Idaho State Bengals. All right, guys, to recap one more time, here's what we got best bet-wise. Drew Martin. Give me UConn, baby. Give me the 2.5 in Morgantown. Trigg is going Tennessee Tech. Lay the 3. He's not scared. Matt Joseph, St. Francis, team total over 74.5. Expect some points there. I'm going to go with Cal, laying the 13.5. And our friends at the Gold Sheet like Fresno State +9 going up against the San Francisco Dons, guys. Hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner, guy. Of course, it's going to be a great week in college hoops. We'll have much more for you beginning again tomorrow. So come back and join us. In the meantime, visit Adam Trigger as well as Drew Martin at Wager Talk and mid-major Matt Josephs over at Sports Memo. And then good luck with your plays tonight, guys. Come back and join us tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. Best of luck. We'll talk to you then.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.